Morning, morning, everybody. Michelle is here on December 24th, 2025. And boy, I went overboard with stuffing myself with food, good food. But I wanted to come on in, and talk some more about the deconstruction. Because a lot of people like doing things on a yearly basis. They'll they like to begin a year doing this or end a year doing that. Whatever is comfortable with you is what you need to do. I'm focusing on deconstruction because I know how important that is. That is like a opening in your life to really get in there. Get in there. You know what I mean? And do the things that are necessary to help you to evolve your consciousness. So you're gonna get yourself in there. There's some term out there that they're talking about, get in there, or help me through there, something. I can't keep up with these young people. I can't, because I have a lot of young relatives. I cannot keep up with them, and nor do I attempt to. I just like to relate to them, but I don't need to pretend that I'm 15 and 20. Okay, I'm well past that, and very happy. I'm a grown ass woman, and I behave as such. Every now and then, I get silly, and I get a little goofy, and because I'm attempting to relate, to people online. And you need to be able to do that. You need to be able to relate to people, whether and that's a part of being able to guide people. You need to be able to guide people from all walks of life. And thankfully, I was in the career and the profession where I dealt with all walks of life. Everyone on this planet can be a victim of something, whether it's theft, whether it's something happening to their family members, and this and that and the other. I dealt with people from all walks of life going through these mental stages in their life, these mental levels in their life. And I can see the big picture, and I can see the correlation as to how something relates to. That's what I put a video out the other day. What are we really doing to help people? And we really need to ask those kind of questions. What are we really, really doing to help people? Okay, are we just attempting to be experts, to be know-it-alls, believing that only we know the answers to things? No one else does. You need to listen to me only, and don't listen to anybody else. That's a sign of a cult, C-U-L-T. And usually that's in religious denominations. Listen to me only. Pastors, ministers, they all say that. Listen to me. I know how to interpret what's in this book. Okay, that's a bunch of garbage. And so once people start deconstructing, they realize that that's just a bunch of garbage. These people can barely wipe their ass properly, but yet they know how to interpret a book that's been altered. All of the books have been altered over the course of time. Let's just say 2,000 years. And so a lot of people believe what's in the book is what's true. Is it? And so you have to ask those questions to figure out if it is true. And so that's the fun part about deconstructing. Because like I said, no one needs to know you're doing it, but you are answering questions that are coming up in your consciousness, coming up in your thoughts, because it's not adding up. And be thankful that you have this range of intelligence, especially when you ground yourself. You deal with what is really going on in front of you. You can look outside of bullshit that people, be rambling in your ears about. These so-called intellectual talking heads, who believe all because they have a doctorate degree, a master's degree, they have all these levels of education that they know better than you. It's not that they're attempting to help you. They know better than you. You need to listen to them and disregard what what you're picking up inside of you. The contradictions. That's, and that's usually how people know, you get the signals. It's like a tap on the shoulder. Okay, this is not adding up. The math does not add up here. So deconstruction, that's why I say when deconstruction, you need to be very selective as to who you share that with, so that you don't have so much interference. You're like your own internal detective, attempting to find the clues and evidence to support religion, support politics, support this or that or the other. And then once you do all that research and diving deeply into something, then you can decide logically, rationally, and reasonably, do I want to still participate in this type of religion, cults? Do I still want to be a member of this cult? And then you can make that decision with clear evidence of research that you've done, discernment that you've done. And I know what the answer is, okay? But it can be dangerous for you. As I said, as you deconstruct, when when you're talking about it and bragging, don't do that. It's criminal negative energy that you're dealing with. And it has become a force of its own. It's a criminal, religious negative energy. Okay, it's a force that has created itself because of people were unconsciously cultivating it in their thoughts, and they created this encasement of forceful criminal negative energy that will hold you, wants to hold you and hold you and hold you. That's why I said the bottleneck, you're not going to be able to get through there without being creative and thinking logically, rationally, and reasonably. Groundedness, does it add up? Does it make sense? Why am I doing it? Who, what, when, where, why, how, what if? Why are you doing this? We all want to, and there's nothing wrong with making a living for yourself. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with providing for yourself. That's part of your accountability and responsibility. But I'm talking about, okay, what genuinely are you attempting to do? You just want people to like you? You want to have so many people like you so that you can build this force field of people to retaliate, okay, and seek revenge for people that hurt you, okay, or called you crazy, called you a cult leader, okay, called you stupid, called you dumb. A lot of people do that when they're hurt, physically hurt. They want to build a coalition of people, to be like in support of your criminal negative behaviors and actions, so that you can, because this happens a lot online. There'll be someone that creates something. Usually the people that, they'll create a group online. All right, they'll create a group online. And this particular person who created the group is dealing with some anger, depression. They're just angry. Okay, they are angry. And they are seeking revenge and retaliation. They're so clever in their deception and manipulation. They know how to morph themselves into this highly polished, person, whereas everybody, think they're the best thing since sliced bread. They know how to manipulate. I told you about Clorox. They're very easy at deception and manipulation and pretending. They're great at pretending. They're great at pretending that they are it, that you need to follow them, not the other way around. Everybody needs to be listening to them. That's why you got, like I said, pastors, preachers, oratory types. They're great at this. Politicians especially, but more so religious leaders. They're great at bringing people in by performing. Pastor Jim Jones is a perfect example of that. They know how to pretend. They're good at showboating, good at, performing. They're performers, actors. So they know how to build a group of a lot of people because of their abilities to manipulate people, deceive people, and deceive themselves or deceive others that they are just, they're somebody that you need to really pay attention to. They're the best lovers. They're the best at everything. They know the answers to everything. And again, they can barely wipe their ass. Literally, figuratively, and metaphorically. So when you're deconstructing, the fun thing about that, especially if you're doing it silently where no one has to know, you'll pick up the contradictions. I can guarantee you that. I can almost guarantee you that. And then you're going to say, okay, I get it. And that's going to be a revelation and such joy that you're not going to be able to contain yourself. You're going to be, because you're getting through. You're getting through that hold of that encasement of negativity, that bottleneck. You're getting through because you're figuring out it's all smoke and mirrors. You pull open the curtain, you realize what's there. Props. So deconstruction can be, you make things what they are. And again, it's going to feel so, the most, it's like a proper breathing again. You're breathing properly when you are discerning properly. You're paying attention to what's going on inside of you. You're hearing what's going on inside of you. You're paying attention to what's going on inside of you. No one has to know that. And this year, 2025, man, did I get a revelation early in this year. It was like illusions were, it's like the bubble, like the burst of a bubble, poop, whoa. And I was able to come out of my fantasies. That's number one. And number two, and realize I was making a fool out of myself. And I was delusional and hallucinating myself. But that was a great experience, though. Experience is the great teacher. I had to experience that. I had to experience being treated a certain way to finally get it. It's like, oh, I get it. Once it happens to you, you get it. But I did not go out and say, okay, I'm going to seek revenge and retaliation against this or that person, this person, those people. Nope. I chalked it up as a lesson learned, and it was definitely a lesson learned. And I came away with more joy, happiness, and enthusiasm. You know why? Because I felt that there were some contradictions, and so the contradictions were cleared up, put it that way, because the result speaks for themselves. So when you're doing this deconstruction, like I said, you need to know what you're going to, to say, okay, I denounce religion, or I denounce politics. That's meaningless. I wouldn't even announce all of that stuff. I know we do. We're doing everything we can. I think a lot of people with good intentions believe that they have to share everything, but they don't realize what's going on in the backstory. I said this. This is what caused some issues for me in 2022. I mean, I know things. You know why? Because I experienced them. I was in the room, metaphor. I was in the room. I had the experience. And I know how certain entities treat people. I know what certain entities say to you, but what they do behind the scenes is completely different. And they justify it. Like I said this once time before, I'm going to say it again. Law enforcement are allowed to lie to someone because they claim they're getting the truth. Now you see how illogical and irrational and unreasonable that sounds? That's a bunch of bullshit. Okay? You do not need to deceive and manipulate and lie to people just to get the truth. That doesn't make any goddamn sense at all. Once you start deconstructing, you realize that. Or claiming that you want peace, but yet you still are killing people, you're committing genocide. Okay, you claim you are a leader, but all you want to do is dictate people, tell people what to do. You get off on that power. Some people actually get off, literally, believing that they have such power. Oratory is a perfect example. Okay, managers do that, supervisors do that, homeowners associations. Okay, those are dictatorship, ladies and gentlemen. Some of them, I should say. Some of these managers, some of these supervisors, some of these team leaders, some of these CEOs, some of these blah, 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 man, they're dictators too. It's not just politics. In religion, especially, religion and politics are similar. Okay? So some people get off on mistreating people, calling people stupid and dumb. People get off on that. Literally. It turns them on. It's as sickening as that sound. And most people that do that most people that are mistreating people, and if I get mistreated, I know I'm not the first one being mistreated by either that person, those people, that group, da-da-da. Others have been mistreated too. Okay? But like I said, I'm not going to seek revenge or retaliation. Oh, come on. Because that person, when someone's treating you that way, they have so much self-hatred that's where my compassion comes in. Because I know for someone to be mistreating people, harming people, wanting to take everybody out via genocide, cause people to lose their job, cause people to lose their livelihood, cause people to lose their life. Can you imagine the self-hatred inside of that person? Is there. And so you need to protect yourself from that as well. Because those people that have that built up into them, cult leaders, some politicians, law enforcement, whoever believes that they are the shit, can be very dangerous and violent. Okay? They can harm you. So protect yourself. So that's why I say just no one has to know. Just do what you need to do. Pay attention to your antennas, your internal antennas. If somebody's talking to you, because I can remember many a times when people are just extremely angry. They're not angry with me. They're just angry. They're just angry people. And I can remember one time going back and forth with someone, and this person had that, had such anger in their eyes, because that's where I see it. Some people hear it. Some people feel it. The feelers. I can remember this person was so angry and intense. I moved to the side a little bit, and that person was still looking forward, arguing with somebody. It wasn't me, because I wasn't no longer in front of them. You understand how the intensity of anger can be? But they can still lash out at you. And if they have a weapon, okay, yeah. You're going to be their target. So you're going to have to figure out how to diffuse that without getting yourself hurt. I would pay attention to their eyes. And if they're fixated on you, you just got to do whatever you can to get out of that situation. Sometimes if you're just too close to people, you possibly will just get hurt. And sadly, that happens a lot too. When people a lot of people, see, if somebody's angry and upset and just bothered, and you're not picking up cues about all of this, you can get yourself in the line of fire of that. And once that person gets fixated on you, okay, you're going to have to be extremely clever and quick on the draw as to how to get yourself out of that situation. And it requires thinking properly, taking everything off the personal. Don't attempt to, go toe to toe with somebody. Get your ass out of there. Okay, and get your ass home safe to your family. Okay? So again, when you are deconstructing, you're gonna run into these angry people that criminal negative energy, because they pick it up. They pick up your happiness inside, and they don't have it, but they can pick up something that's there in you. A lot of people say it's a light, Light. You have a light about you. You have a calmness about you. And that makes the people with the criminal negative energy very, very jealous and envious, because they want some of that. And so that's why they go after you violently and want to harm you, because you're happy. They know you have something internal that they want, and they want to take it from you. That's the craziness of it. And that's why I say deconstruction is dangerous if you don't know what you're dealing with. And then when you're deconstructing, this might be a long video, sorry. Coming to the end of the year, this might be the last of it with the deconstruction series. We'll see. But what happens when you're deconstructing, okay? That's why I say it can be dangerous. Don't go around bragging about it. I would not say a word. Let your actions speak. On the social media platform, it's too late for people to kind of pull back on that. But hopefully in their personal lives, they're making sure they're keeping themselves safe. They're online, and most people don't know where they live. But don't brag. Like I said, don't brag about it. Just say, look, just walk the talk. You still need to be kind and gentle with people, and and you need to always stay aware of your surroundings, because your light does shine. So your light may draw in some negative, which it does, criminal negative attention. So don't be a hero. Okay, a lot of people say be your own hero. A lot of people just play on words, but don't be a hero. You can't save everybody. Know who you're talking to. Again, when I was as a first responder, I dealt with all walks of life, and I was surprised at how people were behaving based on their level of so-called education, based on their level of so-called income, based on their level of so-called status, and blah 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 blah. And again, I'm very skilled at figuring out certain things, but I'm not going to be anyone's hero. Okay, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure I'm safe first. And if I can save others, oh, absolutely. But I need to make sure I'm properly geared up to save other people. If I'm not, like if I don't have a weapon, if I don't have any protection on me, no body armor or whatever, I need to get my ass out of this situation. And I can pick up things very quickly usually, so, you just have to do the best you can, but don't be a hero. Don't think you can just, walk up to people and attempt to talk them into something. It's not going to work. Law enforcement has so much to learn about that, but, they refuse. They like the good old boys mentality of domination, control, and dictatorship. It's a false sense of power. And that false sense of power is destroying a lot of people, unfortunately, because a lot of people don't know who they are, what they are, and why they are. So that's why when you're deconstructing, those questions have to be answered. Who am I? What am I? Why am I? Blah, blah, blah. It has to go who, what, when, where, why, how, and what if. You have to answer those questions. But no one has to know. You don't need to share too much of what you're doing. If you are genuinely being helpful, it'll come through. It'll come through. Like this. I listen to a lot of people, and I am encouraged. I'll admit that I am encouraged. I know some people get it, but I also know some people see opportunities here, financial opportunities to exploit people. And that's unfortunate. You're not going to get away from that. You're not going to get away from people attempting to fleece you and deceive you, manipulate you for financial gain. So enjoy the process. Enjoy the process. Enjoy yourself. Enjoy being in your own company. Okay, again, these are holiday seasons, and around these holiday seasons, a lot of people start there. That energy becomes, because a lot of people have sadness on around these holiday seasons. By the way, there's a lot of sadness, a lot of disappointment. Some kids are disappointed about what they didn't get for Christmas. I think I told you about one time I was at an event where they were open, presents were being opened for two little young people, and I told you about that primal cry. They cry for hours, hard crying for hours, and no one, and this was supposed to be a happy occasion. You understand? And these were toddlers. What was going on there? It's that energy, criminal negative energy that they were picking up from somewhere. And I know, they were picking up some criminal negative energy. Okay? And it's usually in the form of religion or politics or, any of those certain things. About what you're supposed to do on a particular day versus what you're not supposed to do. All these contradicting realities that happens around the holidays. A lot of people have lost family members. It's just a lot of things have happened during the holiday season, but yet people still participate. So I'm thankful though, because I know a lot of people are creating their own traditions. Our family did that. My parents, we did our own tradition. Whatever goes. If you wanted, there was nothing was fixed. There's usually food around, which I was so happy about that. There was food, there was entertaining, blah, blah, blah. But then towards the end of that, sometimes the energy, that intensity of criminal negative energy came in. And so that's why there was a lot of families that got into arguments, and there were a lot of people killed or unalive during holiday events. That was the joke around the first responders, that there appeared to be more domestic related crimes around the holidays. Do your research, do the math. So during the deconstruction process, just remember that is only the tip of the iceberg. But that's an important step to take, to say, hey, I'm going to re-examine my beliefs and ask myself, okay, why do I do this on a particular holiday? Why do I do this on a particular day? Why am I going here on a particular day? Why am I wearing this? Why am I listening to this? Why am I watching? You have to do that, okay? It's not going to be easy, but once you see the results and feel the results, sense the results, however it comes through to you based on your modalities, you're going to want to keep going. You're going to want to keep digging. You want to keep going, and you're going to start enjoying the process more and understanding your purpose, and know that it doesn't matter who you're married to. It doesn't matter what your sexuality is. It doesn't matter who you sleep with. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter what type of job you have. Okay? So I'm going to talk more about that. I have a feeling that I'm going to have to answer a little bit more, because there are questions that come through, and it's about privacy. So I'm gonna answer a little bit more a little bit later in the week, possibly, maybe tomorrow, maybe probably the following. And I just want to say again, universal love was always inclusive. We as a humanity divided it and turned it into commodities. It's all about universal love. It's about loving others, respecting others, and valuing people, and allowing people to be who they are, develop how they can, and reach out to those that can help you. I'm here, others are here. I have programs online that can help. Eventually I'll be face to face, but I have to decide on if that's what I want. Because of the bottleneck, most people are not going to hear you're not going to hear everything that people are attempting to tell you when everybody's wanting to talk. Everybody wants to teach. Everybody wants to be the masters. Everybody wants to be the experts. Everybody wants to be the know-it-alls. They want to bring in these titles of their degrees they have, which they believe makes them the expert, which is nothing more, nothing less but a bunch of bullshit. But that's a indoctrination that we have, that we give people, that, you know, if you got a doctorate or you have a master's, and I'm going to talk about that stuff again too, because I knew some people that were trapped in that modality. So peace and love, and trust me, I will be back.